Hey, I'm hungry. Where's the fillet of fish in here? I'm hungry. Where's the fillet of fish? Good, thank you. Yeah, I sent you. Hey, Joe, yeah, wait. Doctor sleep or what?
You know what? I like to stay home, but let's hope.
Let's just wait.
Yeah, let's just wait.
it on a specific item or just general comment?
No, it's a specific item, the
Which item?
painting of the red curbs in front of my house and across the street and down the block.
Oh, so it's a general comment.
That's general.
Yes. Okay, so,
It seems very specific to me.
oh, no, when it's a specific item, it's an item on that agenda.
Okay,
Otherwise, it's a general.
all right.
That way we notate which specific item you're referring to. Yeah, but it's just a general. So we categorize it.
Lisa, may I borrow a pen?
Hey, want some pen?
Yeah, that's it. I had you in the sights 3 weeks ago.
Are you ready on that?
What do you feed? Decode to the time?
Maybe it's gonna be biased in the back. We'll see how it goes.
So, let me have the mic at the podium, please. Check. Yeah, let me make a quick announcement. Council and city attorney, so the microphones have been rebalanced for the room. So you can be heard clearly on this side of the council chamber and outside the council chamber. Again, we just ask that you speak directly into the mics, but we should be rebalanced tonight, so we're ready to begin when you are.
At this time, I'd like to call to order the Montebello City Council and Public Financing Authority joint regular meeting for Wednesday, October 12th. It is 5:06. I'd like the city clerk and secretary to please call roll.
Council member and Financing Authority member Melendez.
Yours.
Yes.
Yes.
Here. Council member and Financing Authority member Peralta.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem and Vice Chairperson Jimenez.
Here.
Council member and Finance Authority member Torres. Mayor and Chairperson of Financing Authority Cobos Cawthorn.
Present. And Mr. City Attorney, can you please read the statement of oral communications?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Members of the City Council, at this time, the general public may address the City Council or the Public Finance Authority on closed session items. Please be aware that the maximum time allotted for members of the public to speak on closed session items shall not exceed 3 minutes. State law prohibits the City Council or the PFA from taking action or entertaining extended discussion on a topic not listed on the agenda. Please show courtesy to others and direct all of your comments to the mayor. We do have one written comment, correct? And do we have any cards for closed session? So Madam Mayor, we can take care of the one public comment from Margot Iser.
Please.
Perfect. This comment is from Margot Iser, and it reads the following. Good evening. Instead of item 3, closed session, and item 13, 16, and 17, regular session, we, the citizens, people, residents, taxpayers, voters, request that you work with us to immediately implement more comprehensive and cost-effective alternative plan presented by Mr. Landeros. This plan will benefit our entire community by providing more recreation and park space for us by attracting many, many, many more golfers to come here who will pay to play on our world-famous 18-hole championship public golf course, which will benefit all of us now and the people in the future. That is all.
Thank you. And Mr. City Attorney, can you please read the closed session items? I understand that there is one additional walk-on item.
And actually, Madam Mayor, in speaking with the city manager, there's one additional item that will be added under anticipated litigation, where the city is going to contemplate taking action of filing a lawsuit. So let me walk through those two items.
Please.
The additional add-on items are yes, the first one would be conference with real property negotiator. That's the property located at 701 Whittier Boulevard. The agency's negotiator is Mr. Bobadilla. The negotiating party is related to the old Jimmy's property site, and price and terms are at issue. The second item is an item of possible litigation, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4. And this is one matter related to anticipated litigation concerning the audit issues. With that, we'd ask the City Council to add these two items into closed session in as much as they came up after the posting of the agenda, and there's an immediate need to receive direction or take action by the City Council.
Can I have a motion for the walk-on item?
I'll make the motion.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. City Clerk, can you please take roll?
Councilor Melendez.
Aye.
Councilor Peralta.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Jimenez.
Aye.
Councilor Torres. Mayor Cobos Cawthorn.
And I vote aye. That carries unanimously.
Then we can go into closed session for the items listed as items 1, 2, 3, and 4. We also have item 3B, which is the conference with real property negotiators, and an item 4B, which is the item that we just also added, being anticipated litigation, city's action to consider taking action on litigation. With that, we will now be appropriate to recess into closed session.
Okay, we will return shortly. Thank you.
No covers missing, right? You got a windsock? Okay. I think we replaced them all. Yeah.
That's actually like the legit mascot. That's awesome. He was the first in, first out. That's awesome. He's always doing Oh, that's the guy. So I picked up the phone. Yeah. Who are you trying to reach? That's how he is, dude. I was like, oh, I apologize. I go, let me get you to the right person. I like the guy, but he's a real trusty. I like the guy. I've never actually met him, but Matt Ramos has spent a lot of time. Matt has a lot of patience. Yeah. So do I. I think to be an code enforcement and an officer, manager, you gotta have patience. I guess yeah, in a lot of ways. You don't have patience. Things go south. Things go south. Okay. His owner staff will check in. Rosemary in your office. Child care bundle. Yeah. I was about my CDBG funds 35 years ago. Here's no record. Well, other than that, the council, yeah. So between the school district and city. So what I suggest, there are guidelines that HUD maintains that says that anything that's purchased with HUD funds, we have to make possession. Right. That we can't just give it away. Got it. Or I think there's a process which is what we're going to check on to see like what the actual market value. Oh, got it. And then if the school district wanted to buy it, okay, we would show that we got reimbursed. Okay. And then the money became hooked. I think it had to go back to the program. Got it. That's what I was telling you. Sounds cut and dried to me, and they checked with her, and something, I think we're looking at the guidelines, they said 5 years for real property, but I don't know, it's more something acquired versus. So there's only one alternative. We can hold off as long as we. Yeah. But I think there's kind of director with my thing. Go take a look at what it is. Yeah. You better check. Figure out what the plan is. You could actually probably use it. A school isn't using it. We have temporary trailers. We could probably. Oh, you know what it is? It's, we own it. The school wants it, but it's a dump. So they said if they were able to acquire it, they might tear it over. It's on the school ground. That's why we don't want to use it. We used to run a program there at the school, as you probably saw. Here's what we gotta make sure we can clear with HUD. Right, okay. So we say, so that's what are the parameters? And they say, oh yeah, do X, Y, and Z. Okay, cool. Okay. Do it. It's probably listed somewhere on the city as a city owned real estate. What I'm hoping that's too on our tax rules and all that stuff. It's an asset. Yeah. It should be bought. I've seen it show up on the view list when you know insurance and stuff like that. So you want to dispose of that. Yeah. So what I think is we have a building inspector. Take a look at it. Name it when on the state. Right. Have them definitely not right now. So last year we let them borrow at least one from us at another site, another school site. there some sort of middle time payment for you guys? Could there be some time? Really? Yeah. They track things for a very long time. And once they open that, they're just remember that. Which is why, like, if you ever like deliver your own to Rosemary, you always very cautious. That's good. That's good. And kind of, we just went to an audit, for example, and they operate and it's actually a learning process. Like, yeah, that's cool. The way they do it, they have like what's called a desk office, which you never do. But it's like if you go to an auto dealership and you go and you buy the car, yeah, and the finance guy, yeah. And they're the ones that are really, that's right, big in the house. That's right. So the hubs have had the same thing. So you deal with the but the desk officer is the one that makes the decision. Oh, that's, you made, you violated this guideline, so you're gonna get a fine again. We'll determine what that fine is. Wow, yeah, that's awesome. Right behind you. Man behind the scenes. Trip out, man. So we have like weekly meetings. So I have to be in on this one because we're talking about the audit. It's like, I'm not gonna disclose it because I'm gonna get ahead of it. Hey man, we just got an email from my desk officer about Montebello. But I didn't open it, but and I was like, you see, I got ahead of this. Right? Yeah, that's funny. I'm just trying to be transparent. That's good. No, that's good.
Hold that top.
I just got this in my inbox. So, you know, I just want to make sure. That's right. You know, I'm trying to hide anything. Yeah. It is what it is.
Dice, perdón, Montebello,
Oh,
hold on.
I got some news for him.
Is it the desk office?
We had a bizarre for the next council meeting, but I told them for sure. I said, my thing is long research of this. Okay. We're talking about using it next year, like next school year, 2024. We'll get that. The beauty of it is, we don't have membership on it, but we may have funds available to rehab it. It's in the school district. Yeah. So it seems like they do. We can work out. Okay. Take possession of it, but we still own it. We still got it. Why do we do that? Well, we used to run an after-school program there, so we don't use that side. I closed it 6 years ago. So it's gonna take some looking into this if there's like a exemption or something that we can easily get into. Okay. Because it's still serving the purpose. It is. It is. And I think that's the justification is that it's not like it's there to help parties. We're still serving the public. Right. And I think that's the because if not, I think they would be okay with the alternative, which is the city still owns, like give them like 99 days, let them say improvements. And then give them the ability to tear it down, rip the roof off, and repair it. Yeah. Okay. And then what school is it in? Greenwood Elementary, yeah, the most of them. Oh, there we go. So that is also a huge plus because for sure that means that the funds are absolutely good. So we're talking today. There's one available access we're going to have access to. It's for a variety of things. It's for underserved areas. Oh, nice. One of them is like providing Wi-Fi. Oh, nice. In areas where it's not available. Yeah, that's cool. So I'm thinking, do we have that? We do. It's only local inside the room. So you can see the park. I mean, I like the park. It's fun. So maybe there's a line that we spend on that to make it. Yeah, man. That'd be cool. What's also the question that if a bus is out of school, does it qualify? I think the answer is absolutely. I think it should be. Right. So that's gonna get a tricky one. Probably the desk officer's gonna have to. You gotta bring the big boy. I don't know, like, talk with my supervisor. Yeah. Like, what? How can we make these? Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. Good idea. What other uses are there? It's like affordable. You do affordable housing at certain levels. Wi-Fi. That's cool. That's cool.
on now once you see this price.
I was like, give me tissue. If he doesn't hit the ball, we're still gonna hit it. It's like, you and your son.
I'm just going either way.
I'll be the room representative.
You're gonna be the runner. You're gonna be the. I'm like, this is stupid. We're all running out. That's okay.
We're all running out. Not just one.
No, we're all of us.
Oh, he's a part of the Blues Brothers too.
Easy.
1:30 in the morning.
I got a bunch of them. I know, I got like 4 blue, 4 white.
Yeah, I know.
You have money socks on?
No, I have my dumpster fire socks. These are my council meeting socks. Dumpster fire. I wear them every council meeting. I got with the LA County Fair. It was one of those blue suits.
And if you get a bite, not wash it. Until once the item gets declined, you can wash it every time.
Okay. Yes, I'm with her. Yes, I'm with her. You're the happier.
Auditors this morning. I got a call, I called them yesterday. And they said, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, okay.
You can find my information.
No, yeah, that's what I'm
2018. We spoke on this.
Oh, yeah.
And he's the interim. So I talked to Ryan last week. He's the one that.
I think I can over there.
That's the suit I made for my brother. Remember what's telling you? I just want to show you. Sean Jones. Look at Bill Clinton. Look at me, I'm shorter than him. This was, I have like Frank Hawkins. This is, McMillan. And then this is.
My gosh.
I do it with my brother. And this is, I can't read it, something, I have nothing. This is what Tony does to praise God. I had my boys in last night. Michael
You
Bennett.
wake up and they're all.
Matt Miller. This one that had that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That I just wanted to show you how to draw. Show it to the girls.
I know, I'm 48 years old, I still don't know.
She's like the word, look at. Yeah, when she gets plated, they get an honor roll, where she's named, baby in Massachusetts, because they're so rare.
And that AB can be mixed with anything.
No, AB has to be AB. We can get O, but we can't donate it.
Yes, O is one.
Yeah, O is universal. Is that what you are? Yeah. I can donate it. Yeah. Yeah.
And then mosquitoes are unique, so. Oh, yes. I thought it was good astronaut video. Yeah, it happens.
We have problems since then. That's why I wanted to go back and see when you started. Oliver. We're gonna go what? My dear. Must be nice, huh? Oh, yeah. No, no. Lo pusieron ahí, no se quedan ni se
Pero Citizen of the Month.
Citizens of the month.
I'm gonna text you the information. Are they becoming members?
I think there's a committee at the nominee.
Nominate myself.
Hey, you're good.
I'm good.
Look at this whole package.
I'm good on that.
Was my officer doing in Montebello High School? Visible? Oh, yeah.
Yes. Well, yeah, now it's getting.
More ways than one. Just having a presence.
Dolores, I had a very good laugh about it.
That too? Oh, for real? Okay, I thought you were joking.
No, while you're up there, reading what? The, registration is Monday.
Once again, join us in the southwest corner. Yeah. I gotta watch this time. This before. They have some free out. It's a club. Alright. Thank you. Oh, new guy. I can see you in someone else. Hey, they missed the spot. You can maybe on this. Yeah.
Wait, I forgot to bang it. All right, we are back from closed session. It is 6:21. Mr. City Attorney, can you please provide a report for the closed session items?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. The record should reflect that the City Council convened into closed session, but prior to recessing into closed session, the items that were listed on the agenda as items 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 add-on items, which was 3B and 4B, were added to the agenda as subsequent need matters. And the following is my report. The record should further reflect that all 5 members of the City Council were present in closed session, with the exception of the one item that I'll be mentioning on the ACLU anticipated litigation matter, which Councilmember Torres recused himself from participating in that item. Under threat to public services or facilities, the City Council received a briefing from the City Manager and staff regarding those issues. No action was taken and nothing further to report. On item 2, which is conference with real property negotiators, the property located 112 through 132 South 6th Street. The City Council received a briefing from the agency's negotiator. There was direction provided to the agency's negotiator, but nothing further to report. The authorization was provided to the mayor to execute a letter on behalf of this, on behalf of the Cesar Chavez Foundation in this project. Item 3, conference with real property negotiators, property located 901 via San Clemente. Again, the City Council received a briefing on the negotiations on this property. There was no action taken and nothing further to report. Item 3B, conference with real property negotiators, the property located at 701 Whittier Boulevard, Montebello, California, which was the add-on item. The City Council gave authorization to the agency's, the city's negotiator with respect to possible sale, consistent with the terms expressed in closed session, but there was no final action taken and nothing required to be reported. Item 4, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. There were 3 matters of potential litigation against the city. This included 1 claim filed by David Jimenez regarding the Brown Act allegations. On the ACLU letter, as I mentioned, Councilmember Torres did not participate in that matter, and 1 matter related to a threat of litigation from infrastructure engineers. On those three items, the city council received a briefing. Direction was provided to the city attorney's office. No final action was taken, and nothing further to be reported at this time. On item 4B, anticipated litigation, the consideration of initiation of litigation on that one matter which was added on. The city council received a briefing on this item. Direction was provided to evaluate the potential claims against the state and the state auditor. There was no final action taken, but the direction was provided to the city attorney's office and the city manager's office. That concludes the report from closed session. It's appropriate to move on to the open session of the city council. Thank you.
Thank you. The Sozenji Buddhist Temple will be joining us next meeting. So our invocation will be done by our treasurer, Rafael Gutierrez. So if everyone would please stand.
Good evening, everybody. As we gather here today, we pray that we are ever mindful of the opportunities to render our services to fellow citizens and to our community, keeping in mind always to enduring the values of life, exerting our efforts in those areas and on those things upon which future generations can build with confidence. Let us continue to strive to make a better world. Amen.
And for Pledge of Allegiance, our police chief, Paul Espinosa, you could please lead us.
Hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. City Manager, are there any corrections to the agenda?
We have one correction, Mayor. We're going to be pulling item number 16.
16?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. We'll note that it'll be moved to, I believe, October 26th. Okay, we'll note that. So are you seeing pink, Montebello? October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So all of the month of October, we will be supporting and recognizing Breast Cancer Awareness Month. This worldwide annual campaign is vital in increasing awareness and early detection of breast cancer. Still today, according to the Center of Disease Control, about 264,000 women are diagnosed with breast cancer annually in the United States. This means 1 out of every 8 women are at risk every day. We are asking members of the community to help us turn Montebello pink for one day in Wednesday, October 19th, 2022. All city staff will be encouraged to wear something pink and learn about breast cancer research and early detection. In addition, our Montebello Fire and Police departments are still selling promotional t-shirts, mugs, patches, and more to raise funds for City of Hope and breast cancer research. If you'd like to purchase an item from them, please visit our new website. And to learn about Breast Cancer Awareness Month, please visit nationalbreastcancer.org. And I'm going to go down to the bottom. Michael, can you help me stay up here? Michael, can you stay here? And can I welcome all the directors, please, up to the front? We have Bullying Prevention Month here, and I want to say that the city of Montebello is a safe space to work. So October, we are supporting bullying prevention. Bullying can happen anywhere, anytime, any place, and affects people both young and old. While many of us may picture bullying as a physical act, it can often take as many different forms such as verbal, social, and online abuse. In this digital age, we've seen the toll social media can take in our own youth's mental health and tragic repercussions it can have left unchecked. Anyone can play a vital role in preventing or intervening in bullying. Positive intervention and education can make a difference in those who feel bullied, those who do the bullying, and those who witness bullying. Bullying is often linked to those negative impacts on mental health and those in substance use and in suicide. For that reason, as leaders, educators, and residents and parents in Montebello, we have a role in recognizing bullying, build a safe environment, and have open communication for positive change. To stop bullying, please visit stopbullying.gov online and to learn more. So all of these leaders here have played a role. So we have our Parks Department who deal with our youth, our Fire Department who deal with the community, our Police Department also, our HR deals with our employees, our social media deals with our community, our planning also deals with our businesses, transit deals with all of our ridership, our business department deals with our business department, our finance takes our money, our city manager runs our city, our assistant city manager, they didn't join. So, I'm sorry, we missed a few. So all of these are our directors, so they also have a safe space that work up here. So if we can give them all a round of applause. So it's Bullying Prevention Month, so we are recognizing all of them. So, but we don't have someone to take a picture.
We do.
And then we'll have my colleagues come down also.
Closer, closer. Closer, 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 closer. Sorry.
I will try not to break it again. Oh. So it is also Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So side by side with Bullying Prevention Month, it's domestic violence awareness. In our country, on average, nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by someone they know. This equates to more than 10 million women and men in a single year. The topic was officially recognized in October in 1987 as a way to connect and unite victims of domestic violence with resource organizations and help Domestic Violence Awareness Month, asking us to support the safety and well-being of anyone in need as a result of the threat or act of domestic violence. Montebello stands by victims and survivors of domestic violence this month and all year long. We encourage community members to understand the threat of domestic violence, recognize its signs, listen and support victims with compassion. Nationally, domestic violence hotlines on a typical day receive more than 20,000 phone calls. So please visit callos.cal.gov. And if you or someone you know is dealing with a threat of domestic violence, please call National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-SAFE or 7233 to get them help. So I'll go back up. Wait, no. Is Gary here? Gary! Since nobody else wants to join me. Come on, Gary, come back up. This is for you, since I'm the only one who loves you. Well, I know Renee loves you. Renee, Gary is our one-stop shop. So he is our Citizen of the Month. Here you are, Gary. So Gary was supposed to be recognized, but he got a little bit sick. We won't see the C word, but Gary got that nasty C word that we don't want to say. But so in appreciation, Gary, let me read a little bit about you. He is a remarkable individual, making it a real difference in our community every month. I am excited to announce tonight's recipient. He is very special, and he also is a resident. Can we say how long?
Yes.
Nearly 48 years a resident of Montebello. Montebello High School graduate. Yes, Euler. So Whittier City School District, right after graduation as a custodian, hoping to make it as he's a very proud father, public servant, instilled Gary strong work ethic. He was promoted to head custodian within 3 months. So he's got a can-do attitude, passion for service. He's neighbors to Pico Rivera. So he worked there for 34 years. And that's where he met. Yeah, you met. So we stole both of you guys. Yes. Haha, our game. So in 2019, Gary was called upon to join the city of Montebello as a retired annuitant. Gary played an integral part in accomplishing several infrastructure projects within Montebello, including the major city hall renovation improvements and repainting all of Montebello parks. Following his time as a retired annuitant with the city, he never stopped giving back. He continued seamlessly as an unpaid volunteer, giving countless hours. Gary gave, anybody want to guess how many hours? No. No, not that many. 200? 200? 250? 300 hours just at Operation Stay Safe. Yes. So Operation Stay Safe, that's the tiny homes. We got an amazing grant. They didn't tell us that we had to get the actual platform for the tiny homes. Gary built the platforms day and night. We didn't know that we had to do this, or else we would have had these tiny homes with nothing to put, and Gary stayed into the night. Then we didn't know how to light them up. Gary's like, we got you, provided these generators and lit these bad boys up, so thank you, Gary. So, and his favorite food, Filet-O-Fish. So, and sweet tea from McDonald's. So that's how we bribed him. So, Gary, thank you so much. We cannot, yes, so thank you is enough, but we do have little gifts for you. Mayor Pro Tem, if you can help me with this so I don't go break it again. Can I have nice things? So we have this from the chamber. Oh. We have the shop from Montebello to council member. This fancy.
That's his too. I know.
Sorry, it's down to white.
I thought this was like a tequila bottle. That's for his trophy.
I'll let you hold that. You want to come on this side?
We're good.
You're
No, we're not. We're good. She got us.
Like I go like this. Okay.
It's 3D. Good job, Gary.
Gary, I just want to say a few words. In my 25-plus year public servant career, I would say Gary is by far that one employee that has really given more to self. And when you talk about a public employee or public servant, this gentleman here embodies that statement. He's the guy you call at midnight and say, Gary, I got a problem, can you fix it? And he shows up. He doesn't say why, he doesn't say, can't you call somebody else, or why do I have to do it? He just does it. I got a chance to meet him and Pico Rivera and get to know Gary and Gary's values and what he stands for. And he's the ultimate public servant, but more importantly, he is an incredible person. And if you don't know him, get to know him. He's just an amazing person with an amazing heart. Sometimes too big of a heart, because sometimes a burrito takes care of everything for him. You give him a burrito and he'll change a door for you or do something for you, sometimes to his fault. But Gary is that person, and we're so blessed that Gary, truth be told, when I first got here, I think it was the first month, Arlene and I were sitting, and we had like 0.5 doing facility maintenance. And there was really, nobody here to help when I first got here. And we said, man, we need a Gary. And she says, yeah, we don't have a Gary here. And I said, well, let's call him. Maybe he'll come. And we call him, and he was already retired. And we said, hey, Gary, would you like to come work for us? There's a program where you can work 960 hours, and we could really use your help. And he says, well, boss, Pico Rivera just made me the same offer. And I said, well, what are you doing tomorrow morning at 7:30 in the morning? So he got here at 7:30, and we sent him directly to HR and got his medical, his physical. We didn't even give him a chance to say no. And Gary's been here with us 3 years, and just about everything that we've done, if it's a new floor, it's a paint, it's a new light, Gary fixes it or he installs it. He's just an amazing person, and I'm so delighted that you're being recognized with this work. It's very well merited. I know you've been a resident from Montebello for a long time.
It's an honor to work for everybody here. I really enjoy Montebello. The people are beautiful. The staff's beautiful. I mean, it's just a great place. It's an honor to be here. Trust me. I enjoy what I do. It's not even work. I enjoy it. I enjoy giving back to the community. I really do.
And if you come here on a Saturday or Sunday, sometimes you'll see Gary painting or doing something, and you wonder, what are you doing here? And he just does it. So, Gary, thank you for all that you do for us, and thank you on behalf of everybody. Thank you.
And if you have someone you want to nominate, please nominate them online, or just write it in, send us an email so our committee can consider them. So thank you. The last awareness is Down Syndrome Awareness Month, is also in October. It's our final and important theme to recognize this month. The City of Montebello acknowledges October. It's represented by blue and yellow ribbons. So if you see these colors displayed around, pink ribbons, you know that they all stand for. October was designated as Down Syndrome Awareness Month in the 1980s as a time to celebrate people with Down syndrome and make others aware of their abilities and accomplishments. Often people with Down syndrome face stereotypes and offensive myths, but they've shown time and time again that their condition is just one part of who they are and does not define their abilities. They are Olympians, models, musicians, actors, and respect this month all year around. Learn more about Down Syndrome Awareness Month by visiting SpecialOlympics.org. At this time, we move on to our public comments. So if Mr. City Attorney, please read the statement of oral communications.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. At this time, this is the period for public comments on agenda and non-agenda items. The public may address the City Council on both agenda and non-agenda items. Be aware that the maximum time allotted for members of the public to speak shall not exceed 3 minutes per speaker. State law prohibits the City Council or the PFA from taking action or entertaining extended discussion on a topic not listed on the agenda. Please show courtesy to others and direct your comments to the mayor or the entire legislative body. We do have written comments and we do have cards, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Which one would you like to deal with first, Madam Mayor? In person. Mr. City Clerk.
Yes, first speaker is going to be Irene Lamb. Followed by Irene Lamb would be Levon Portero. Perfect. Okay, so next speaker will be Levon Portero. Followed by Levon will be Vincent La Roca.
I figured I'd talk about the first time I figured they tried to kill me with a heart attack, by giving me a heart attack. It was a hot night. I slept in the back of my truck because I had a brand new expensive sleeping bag. I'd never used it, and you get tired of it and put to sleep with chloroform or whatever. So I slept in the back of the truck. Next morning I said, I'm bullshit. I'm going to the Montebello Police Department. So I come up here and I talk to, I think he's the #1 assistant under the ex-chief of police, and it was like talking or pouring water on a duck's back. Incidentally, a friend told me that was what I was doing here. And so at the end of that conversation, I said, where's the FBI office? Well, I don't know. You're a cop and you don't know where the FBI office is? Well, he finally found downtown Wilshire, and I said, well, I got plenty of time, and I haven't been on Wilshire Boulevard since probably 1957. So I'll go down there. Well, outside, you can't talk to any agents. Outside, there's a black guy. What do you want? Well, I want to talk to an agent. So he gives me a phone number. I was probably talking to a drug dealer in East LA or Pico Rivera. Anyway, as I'm walking out the parking lot, I'm a long ways off. I see a car back out right next to me. And it was a black guy, and when he drove by me, it was like the cat that's going to eat the canary. And I go, something's coming. Anyway, I parked that truck instead of my house. I parked it in my brother's yard. Well, about 1 o'clock in the morning, I go, oh, shit. And I felt it coming, but I did do something that maybe counteracted it. And I went away. I go, whew, that was close. Anyway, if I don't write stuff down, and I'm about as sure as you can be that the drug dealers have a camera in the corner of my eye, and they hear every damn word I say. I know that. And the cameras are super small, and they're super good. Anyway, what was I going to say? See, that's what I do now. If I don't write it down, but they read it. Anyway, God damn it. Yeah, I figured at one time about the second or third city council meeting, I told the ex-chief of police that...
Sir, you're going to have to address this body, not the
I
audience.
told the ex-chief of police, if you don't, about the second or third time I'd been to one of these things, I said, if you don't want to see me here, all you got to do is get them assholes off my back.
Would you also please watch your profanity?
I know, I'm sorry, I shouldn't do that.
Please, we'd appreciate that, thank you.
Anyway, I said, all you got to do is get them off my back. I always figured the chief told the drug dealers, I don't care if you kill them, but you got to make it look like a heart attack or a car wreck. And boy, they've put me to sleep driving my car almost 4 or 5 times. And if it wasn't them strips along the road, I'd have definitely, you might not get killed, but I'd have definitely crashed 4 or 5 times.
Sir, thank you. Your time is concluded.
Yeah, I should write a script and make a movie out of it.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Vincent La Roca. Followed by Vincent will be Tila Gregorian.
Hi, Mayor and City Council members. My first comment is regarding agenda item number 13. So after looking at the project budget for the golf course renovation, I was a little shocked and disappointed because the plan calls for using $5 million of coronavirus recovery funds toward this project. This is in addition to $15.3 million raised through the Series A 2022 A bonds that was approved by the council on September 14th. The council stated that you guys stated that the purpose of the bonds was to improve the golf course so it wouldn't drain the general fund. However, the proposed budget calls for siphoning $5 million for this project that could instead go toward improving much needed everyday services for residents, such as improving traffic conditions, road conditions, public transportation, and upgrading essential infrastructure like water and sewer services. Just on a side note, recently I got a letter from the water department saying that there's PFAS, which are chemicals, cancer-causing chemicals in our water supply, and they're working on fixing it. I don't know when the date for that filtration site is being proposed, but I feel like we can do better with our $15 million in recovery funds rather than spend it on additional additions for the golf course. So this proposed budget should not be approved. It should not use any of the $5 billion from the COVID recovery funds. If this money is used, we are doing a disservice and misusing these funds. That should go to essential services. My second comment is regarding traffic safety and how we can make our city safer and more pedestrian friendly. So Governor Newsom signed AB 2264, which requires that when Caltrans replaces or installs a traffic signal with a crosswalk, it must program the signal to give pedestrians a 3 to 7 second head start before car traffic moving the same direction gets a green. These are called leading pedestrian intervals, or LPIs. According to the National Association of City Transportation Officials, LPIs enhance the visibility of pedestrians in the intersection and reinforce their right-of-way overturning vehicles, especially in locations with a history of conflict. LPIs have been shown to reduce pedestrian vehicle collisions as much as 60% at treated intersections with these LPIs. We should implement a similar standard of programming LPIs in our city and follow the state's example. LPIs will make walking through our city more enjoyable, and having a walkable city will improve the mental and physical health of Montebello residents. I hope you would consider my comments moving forward and vote to not approve the budget, as well as look into traffic safety standards like the leading pedestrian intervals at intersections. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Tila Gregorian, and followed by Tila will be Rosemary Torres.
Good evening. My name is Sheila Gregorian. I've been a resident of Montebello for over 50 years. And I'm a little concerned this election term. For some reason, we are having a lot of things going on happening in our city that have never occurred here before that I'm aware of. There are signs that are being taken down. There are signs that are being defaced. It's just like, who does that? Kids do. But I don't believe it's kids that are doing this. I think there are adults in our community that are just not behaving themselves as adults. I don't know what's bringing all of this on, but I'm really ashamed to say this because our city we've never had problems like that on election years. But I'm just asking those that are responsible for these things that please stop. We have a very nice community, and we'd like to keep it a nice community. If you're not happy with the community you live in, then move out. Nobody keeps, we hold no hostages in our city. You're free to go. Maybe you can find another city somewhere that will put up with your nonsense. This is, well, I guess that's about all that I wanted to talk about, is asking these people to please behave themselves like adults and stop acting like children, bad children, no less. I hope they don't have any children, because I'd hate to see what they're up to now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Rosemary Torres. No, Rosemary Torres. That concludes speaker cards, Madam Mayor. Would you like me to proceed with the written comments?
Please.
Yes. First email is from Martha Alvarez. Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and Directors. I have lived in Montebello for over 35 years, and never have I seen such vicious acts as what is going on now during elections. My neighbors and myself are being harassed because of the person we are supporting. Our neighbors had 4 people come to his door on consecutive days. Finally, he told them he was going to press charges against them with the police department. What these morons should be asking themselves is, why do those with criminal past want control of the votes? Is it because of the bribes they're getting? Councilwoman Peralta said she'd prove how much she paid as a down payment for her $662,500 condo. Ms. Peralta lied. She put zero down and was given credit for the amount she paid over the owner's price. It's a fancy way to appear to make down payment. To qualify, you need to have an income of $200,000 per year. Mortgage fraud is a federal offense, and the IRS will require you to prove the income you lied to qualify for the loan. Then, once it's proven, you'll face penalties, fines, and interest. Now, why were both Peralta and Torres promising the city manager of the city of El Monte once they get control of the votes, they would fire the current city manager, Bobadilla, and hire her? Is that even legal? Not that either care about the law. Why don't you go do the job you were elected to do and stop with the drama and acting unprofessional? We, the residents, are disgusted with the disrespect you continually show colleagues, staff, and residents. Thank you, Martha Alvarez. Next email is from Martin Arcos. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I would like to address something I heard during the last meeting, which I found very disturbing. Would you, Madam Mayor, ask Councilman Torres if it is true he did not follow legal steps to apply for a building permit? My uncle had to pay $5,000 and waited over a month to get approval. If this is true, why was Torres allowed to bisect the laws we residents must follow? Also, I do not agree with the comments by Torres. We are not real residents. I am not providing my phone number because Mr. Torres called my friend Carlos and spoke to him. My friend was very upset his phone number was given without his permission. Mr. Torres continued to try and argue about the comments my friend wrote about, to the point Mr. Torres was told to never contact Carlos again. Yet Mr. Torres continued to text him. I was shown screenshots of Mr. Torres' comments. The last answer Carlos said to him was, "Stop harassing me. It's my First Amendment right. I will file a complaint if you don't stop bothering me. Please do not allow Mr. Torres to take away our rights to be heard. Sincerely, Martin Arcos." Next email is from Ana Estrada. Good evening, Council and Mayor. This is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and that man, Will Severa, poses a danger to every person attending city council meetings. He can fool a lot of people, but I had a friend in law enforcement read his case, and I was told to be very careful around him. The report states he has a borderline personality disorder, which means he's a psychopath and can true violent in a flash. How can people believe him? How can people believe him is unreal? There were 3 eyewitnesses plus the teenage victim. He left lifeless for dead. Yet he posted about the dangers of Roundup being sprayed at the golf course. Well, I'd rather take my chances with Roundup spray than Severa, a convicted felon. Please make sure the council room has enough security. I believe Severa is a danger to us all. Thank you, Ana Estrada. Next email is from Destiny Flores. Good afternoon. My name is Destiny Flores with the California Department of Insurance, Community Relations, and Outreach Branch. I want to share 2 programs that I think would benefit the city of Montebello and its residents. The first is the California's low-cost automobile insurance program, which was established by the legislature in 1999 as a state-sponsored program that requires insurance companies to offer affordable liability auto insurance to licensed drivers that meet certain requirements. To be eligible for this program, consumers must have a valid California driver's license, own a vehicle valued of $25,000 or less, meet income eligibility guidelines, be at least 16 years of age, have a good driving record. The annual premiums in California vary by county. In the Los Angeles County, you can get insurance for as low as $483 per year. If you want to see if you qualify and locate a certified agent in your local area, visit mylowcostauto.com or call 866-602-8861. The second program I wanted to share is our Senior Gateway Portal, which is a one-stop shop for seniors and their caregivers. It is a partnership between many state agencies with everything in one spot. You will find information on topics such as avoiding and reporting abuse and neglect, preventing fraud, healthcare information, your rights, and other resources. That website is seniors.ca.gov. And then just wanted to leave you today with our toll-free number and website. If you have any insurance-related questions or problems, visit insurance.ca.gov or call us at 800-927-4357. Thank you, Destiny Flores, Outreach Analyst. Next email is from Fiona Ramers. Cheddar Field Library would like to welcome children ages 2 to 5 and their caregivers for a special Dia de los Muertos story time on Tuesday, October 25th at 4 p.m. There will be stories, songs, and movement. Please register on our website as space is limited. We can't wait to see you for our first story time in more than 2 years. Thank you, Fiona Ramers, Community Library Manager. Madam Mayor, that concludes all the comments.
Thank you, City Clerk Jimenez. Mr. City Manager, are there any staff communications of community interest?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to have our Parks and Rec Director, David Sosnowski, give us an update on some of the events that are on the horizon.
Thank you, City Manager, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the City Council, members of the public. Just exciting time here in the city of Montebello. So we have a lot of, broke that there, upcoming events that we want to invite the public to. And we'll start with the Heritage Fest that we've all seen at City Park this weekend. It starts on Saturday from 12 to 10 p.m. and Sunday from 12 to 8. Kind of bringing back some of the old times of Montebello. We have the carnival rides out there on the park now. So if you guys have driven by Whittier and Park Avenue, you'll see that we have the carnival getting ready to start. So lots of free entertainment going on that day, including the Wise Guys on Saturday night, and a lot of cultural performances, including Mesroban High School. We have some Aztec dancers and a lot of different activities that celebrate Montebello's heritage. So love to see everybody from the community out there on Saturday and Sunday at City Park. Preceding that festival, we'll be having our second annual 5K and this year 10K, starting at Montebello City Park that goes down Whittier Boulevard and Montebello and a loop around the park. The 5K and 10K began at 8 a.m. and there is also a kids 1K that's free at 8:30 a.m. So you can sign up on the city website if you want to participate. We still have room for folks that want to participate. All finishers get a medal and t-shirt. So we invite the community to enjoy these activities on Saturday. We also will be celebrating Halloween here in the city. Traditionally, have we done the last 2 years, we're having a haunted train ride this year at Grant Ray Park, October 28th and 29th, Friday and Saturday. The train ride goes through the park and is basically a haunted house on wheels for the community. Signups will go through our office, so people could call the Parks and Rec office at 887-4540. We are currently full at this point, but folks could check in on the availability. On Saturday at Grant Ray Park, the event will also include a Halloween carnival, as well as costumes and activities for folks on Saturday at Grant Ray Park. Concurrently, Dia de los Muertos is celebrated here with our community altar this year again. Moving locations, not at the golf course, it'll be at Henry Acuna Park on the front side off of Victoria. Folks are invited to bring a picture or a memo or a letter of their loved ones to celebrate Dia de los Muertos with the city. That's available from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. throughout the duration of October 24th through November 2nd. One of my last things here for parks, Farmers Market, we're continuing every Thursday night. Just want to invite the folks out again. The Certified Organic Farmers Market with live entertainment, as well as tons of food and great options and entertainment for folks to come out. We have License to Show MLB playoffs, so if you guys want to not miss the baseball games, we'll be playing them tomorrow night, or football, so come join us. That's 5 to 9, Farmers Market, Thursday nights through the end of October. So October 27th is the last chance until we close down the market till 2023. Going to announce something here for the fire department real quick. They're hosting with the Red Cross the Sound the Alarm event. They're going to be hitting folks that need a fire alarm in their house. So the fire department, community risk reduction folks are out there trying to help install smoke alarms for free to people in Montebello. So the Red Cross is putting this on, and they're taking registration for volunteers that want to help out to install the smoke alarms. That's on Saturday, October 22nd. We'll be doing the community area around Acuna Park and Ashia Park, so they'll be meeting at Henry Acuna Park. So you could show up that morning, 8 a.m. to volunteer, or you could register online with the Red Cross. The flyers are in the lobby. And last thing for me, the city's celebrating and our annual State of the City address. It's going to be Thursday, October 20th, at the Quiet Canyon from 12 to 2 p.m. Last day to register for that is Monday, the 17th. The cost is $50 per person to attend. You can hear about the city's accomplishments and goals and see some of the great projects that we've completed and some of the projects that will be going on in the city in the future. So we want to invite the community to all these great events, and all the flyers are available in the lobby of City Hall, city website, or on our social media platforms. Thank you.
Director Sosnowski, did I miss the Coyote meeting?
Oh, no, thank you.
Or
That's the one I missed.
Did I miss it, or?
Yeah, Renee gave me the list today of things, so I went over. So tomorrow night at the Senior Center from 6 to 7, we'll be hosting a Coyote information meeting with our folks at the San Gabriel Valley COG. The city's part of the co-op with all the different cities that put into this program. And folks have been reporting coyotes to the COG, and they'll be sharing information on best tips to deter that, how you could protect your animals, your loved ones, and best deterrents for folks. So tomorrow night, Senior Center, 6 to 7, the free coyote presentation. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, did you have another event?
Yeah, no. David, I know children are free, but from what age to what age?
From 5 to 12.
Okay,
5 to 12, yeah, it's a 1K.
okay.
So no tall adults?
No, I'm saying, because, so the fee for the run is 25. So at what age are children, like at what age is this free?
5 to 12 is for the free 1K run, and
Okay.
anyone that wants to participate and get
Okay.
timed on the certified course, 12 and up, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Got it.
Mayor, there's one other item I'd like to address of community interest, and that's the California State Auditor, Controller, or Auditor fiscal rankings that came out yesterday.
Yes.
Monday was a holiday for us. I received a call. I got an email on Tuesday morning at 8:30 that the state audit would be releasing a fiscal ranking of cities throughout the state of California. We received the findings at 9 a.m., so I, in essence, got a 30-minute heads up. We did not get an opportunity to review or analyze any of the analysis the state did. We were just kind of given a score. I've spoken to several of my colleagues in other cities that are very disturbed, as I am, and very disappointed in the methodology that was used to analyze, particularly the city of Montebello. And I just want to, state for the council and the community that, the city of Montebello has had a financial problem for a long time, dating back to 2011, when the state auditor and the state controller had come in and started looking at the city and found evidence of false financial reports. They found evidence of false reporting. They found evidence of monies missing. And then subsequent to 2011, the city was audited again in 2018, thanks to residents that went to Sacramento and demanded an audit and found very similar practices and issues with the city. The last 3 years, we've spent thousands of hours combing through documents and bringing stuff to council to address a lot of deficiencies, a lot of policies that weren't in place, and we've produced 3 budgets of balanced budgets. We received three awards for our budgets, and I'm just highly disappointed that the auditor really didn't take much of that into consideration, but more importantly, their methodology was skewed. And I'd like to have Michael Bush from Urban Futures come to the podium and give a brief synopsis of his third-party review of the audit's findings, so that you can get a third-party financial advisor kind of give you an overview of what the state produced and what we really believe the audit should have, or the findings should have been. Michael.
Great, thank you, Renee.
And then can you state your company's name also?
Sure. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Michael Bush. I'm the CEO of Urban Futures. I currently serve as the city's financial advisor. Let me give you a little background on myself, because I think it'll be relevant to this conversation. I've been involved in local government, and more specifically on the public finance side of local government, for 25 years. 10 years of that was as CFO and also working within the city manager's office in cities in San Gabriel Valley. In the last 15 years as a financial advisor. I've got fairly unique experience, specifically in the area of cities of fiscal distress. I am the only financial advisor in the state of California to ever take a city through bankruptcy. I took San Bernardino through bankruptcy, so I know a lot about distress and restructuring. I've also helped other cities over the years that have had fiscal problems, and it's pretty much become a tagline for me: if you have problems, call Mike, and I'll come to help. I have reviewed the findings that Mr. Bobadilla presented to you. I only had a chance to do it briefly, but I'm very familiar with the state's audit processes and its findings. I'll speak specifically to a few of the other cities, because I think it's also relevant.
to the discussion and how I view those and compare those to the city of Montebello. So within the top 5 of those that they feel are at the highest risk, 3 of them I'm familiar with. I'm familiar with the city of Lindsay. I think they were 3rd on that list, or 2. I directly was involved last year in responding to the state on their behalf. I think number 4 or number 3 is San Gabriel. I'm involved in the city of San Gabriel as well. I'm familiar with them, and then obviously you all. I can't speak to Compton, I think was number 1, or what the 4th ranked agency is, but I can tell you this. The city of Lindsay and the city of San Gabriel share something in common that would warrant possibly the need to look at them as fiscal distress, and that is very simply they had a negative fund balance in the general fund for multiple years, both agencies. The city of San Gabriel, however, started to recover last year. And I would imagine that Mr. Lazaretto and his council is probably pretty upset that they continue to get the same report, despite the fact that they have done a tremendous amount of cost-cutting, reorganization to bring the city back to a level of fiscal responsibility that would certainly be warranted and needed. They no longer have a negative fund balance. In fact, I think they have over $6 million plus now in fund balance and growing at the end of this last fiscal year that ended.
Michael, just for purposes of our residents, so when you talk about negative fund balance, that means you have a bank account,
yep,
you have 0 money, and you actually owe money because you overdrew it.
Yep. When you have a negative fund balance, as Renee's pointing out, that basically means that you've been borrowing from your other funds to basically finance your municipal operations. And both cities were doing that for a period of years and found themselves in that position and are working themselves through it. You've not had a negative fund balance in many years, since the years I looked back. In fact, when I looked at the state controller's reports and their dashboard, they give you a history, in fact, of their reviews of cities over many years. Every year, you've had improvement, including this last report. You have no moderate risk findings. You have there's a total of 10 areas where they review. You have 6 areas of low risk and 4 areas they believe of high risk. And so tonight, I want to talk to you very briefly about those risks and why I think the state's approach is somewhat misguided. I think it's an approach that tries to capture everybody certainly into to one program or review. I did look through the hard data they did provide online. It's an Excel file, and all the data is hard-coded. They're numbers that somebody plugs in, so you can't tell where they came from. You can't tell if they're accurate. So that would take quite a bit of time to really dig in deeper into it. And I'm not assuming that they're inaccurate, but I am going to assume that they don't necessarily take a more surgical approach to look at how every community is somewhat unique. They're all generally governed the same, but they have a lot of unique aspects to them. And so I think the state also takes an approach, I refer to it more as looking in the rearview mirror at evaluating the financial performance and effectiveness of public agencies, where a true valuation of fiscal fitness is a forward view. And the way you evaluate fiscal fitness is typically looking at the levels of insolvency in an organization, not necessarily the measures they look at. There's 3 levels of insolvency that you typically want to pay attention to. There's cash insolvency, there's budget insolvency, and there's service insolvency. When you have fiscal distress, those are the 3 things that pop up. Can you pay your bills on time? That's cash insolvency. You've never had a problem paying bills. San Gabriel had a problem paying bills a few years ago. That's what they had to fix. You've never had an issue of budget insolvency, as Mr. Bobadilla pointed out. You've prepared balanced budgets, including your most recent budget, I believe, has a $600,000, positive balance to it. Again, reflecting, changes that have been made over time. And then service insolvency, I'm unaware in my brief review and working with the city that you guys have had to cut services because you're short of dollars in the last few budgets or need to do that. So the bigger problem, I think, with the state's audit approach is it uses a government-wide revenue model, and that could be a challenge for both large and small communities. I think how it affects you is it looks at all the revenue that comes into a public agency, including general fund and business type activity revenues, and evaluates from that position. You have, as one of the included operators in LA County, a large bus system that brings in a lot of grant revenue, a lot of other revenue that they count towards that evaluation, which is unique amongst everybody else probably on that list. So they don't account for that, and I think that's a challenge. If you had a large water system, a large sewer system, or anything like that, I think that would be a challenge as well, as to look at those. But I did look at the 4 areas of concern, and I want to kind of walk you through those briefly in my findings. The first is general fund reserves. The state, I think, in its efforts to evaluate the city of Montebello specifically, missed a few, I think, important items in their review. And again, as Mr. Boveda pointed out, it's a score with no analysis or even narrative behind it. So there's 3 things that I kind of found I thought were interesting and more specific to Montebello. The first is you passed Measure H, not mentioned. You've had your first full year last year of Measure H revenues. They didn't discuss COVID impacts on each individual community. Some had lost revenues, some had not lost revenues, and across the state it was a little bit different for everybody. And I think the third is the American Rescue Plan funds can be utilized in different ways by different communities. And you received a little more than $16 million in those funds that apparently can be brought in for projects or can be brought in to be used for revenue losses as it relates to COVID impacts. The prior year, you guys had a general fund balance of about $8 million or somewhere around there, $7 million. And I don't want to tip the hat too early to the council, but it's my understanding sometime in the next few months when you get your audit, you're going to see a surplus of about $8 million in your general fund, which will double your fund balance from $7 million to $15 million to $16 million. Again, that's not something that the state takes in consideration when you take a rearview mirror approach. In total, this should bring your fund balance to about 22% of your general fund expenditures, which I think are a little less than 70 million, somewhere in the $67 to $68 million range, which is about within the mean average you would see for most standard investment policies are somewhere between 20 and 30% standard. So you're now within that range. You have the most interesting debt burden that they point out is a high risk. But without reading through every official statement that you have, you probably would miss the important highlights of your debt. You have a total of 7 obligations, and with the last council meeting's approval, and assuming it goes forward, Topgolf, you would have 8 at some point. You have 1 of those that's fully burdened by the general fund. It's your 2014 A and B bonds, which mature in 5 years. It's a very small part of your debt. You have bonds associated with hotel development, which is funded by the hotel revenues and the revenues associated with the hotels. You have a pension obligation bond, which is funded primarily by your property override tax, which the city is one of 13 in LA County that have it. It's very rare to even have throughout the whole state, but you have a pension override tax that allows you to do that. And I think the Topgolf project itself is designed to be self-funding. And in fact, the land lease revenue from that could be allocated to actually fund the golf course debt service, which was kind of the bigger plan when we started talking through that project. So I think they look at your debt as a challenge because of the size of it, but when you start looking at the obligation, specifically the general fund, it starts to break down a little bit easier. Nevertheless, in total, your debt service obligation represents less than 5% of your general fund expenditures for the year, which is below the GFOA recommended levels. Not something they also take into account, I think, at the state level. You have other debt associated with street financings, street improvements. It is collateralized by non-general fund revenues as well. It's Measure M, Measure R, and Proposition C. Again, no obligation to the general fund. And so I think these are some of the more significant things that the state will miss as it relates to your specific debt issues.
So, Mr. Bush, if you were analyzing a city's financial health or risk, you want to make sure that a city can pay their debt. So if you take out a loan, you want to make sure that the money you make can pay for the debt, and the money we make comes from the general fund. However, in these debts that you described, these are debts that are paid for with very specific funds that are purposely in place to pay for that debt service. Therefore, the general fund does not get burdened a cent with those funds.
That's correct.
And the state took none of that into account or even bothered to ask the city a question about our debt. They just took a number from the ACFR and plugged it in, and without any remorse of what that would cause and what uproar that would cause, and didn't have even the courtesy of calling the city and saying, hey, we came up with this number, can we talk?
Yeah, I can get even more specific to that, Mr. Bobadilla. You know, over the last several years, working with San Gabriel, this city, as well as Lindsay, all three cities have tried to access the market. You're the only one that's been able to do it. San Gabriel and Lindsay could not access capital.
And I want to say this, we just got rated by Standard & Poor's. And in your opinion, would you rather have a financial risk assessment done by the auditor or by Standard & Poor's?
Well, Standard & Poor's gets a little surgical in their review. You know,
because we just borrowed $60 million to pay for a project that if we were in this condition, nobody in their right mind would have loaned us any money.
No, there's
and that's the tale of what's being said here that I'm very distraught about, is that they did not take the correct approach to analyze this and put out a blatant statement to the community that is completely inaccurate.
Yeah, I think there's, you know, taking a deeper dive into that, you know, the city had an affirmed A+ rating, which is well above a junk bond status rating, being anything below BBB, so you're several notches above that. In addition, your golf course bonds receive bond insurance and a surety, which is a third party, in addition to your rating agencies. It looks deeply into the city's finances, that insures those bonds and does so with the expectation that those obligations can be met. So you certainly have, you know, satisfied others outside that literally take a more critical view at things and ask a lot of questions. And in the documents that your council approves to move those financings forward, as you'll see, there's lots of financial information in those official statements. It's basically an investor's prospectus. And the bonds were sold by investors, bought the bonds. So they also take another critical eye. So there's plenty of people, I think, that look at the financing and feel pretty confident with that. They also brought up two other items in those four. Liquidity was one of them. This is an area where I almost completely disagree with their view of liquidity. This council and this community has an opportunity to review both, I think, quarterly and maybe even semi-annual or annually treasurer reports or cash investment reports. I've looked at two today. I think one was September, the other one may have been June. The city has $75 million in total cash. All that cash is available for liquidity. It's not just what you hold in your general fund. Cities can't operate and run cities on just what's in their general fund. They can't do it. Property tax payments come a few times a year. Given you have bigger operations in transit and other things, you need the full ability to use all the funds. What they also didn't point out, that you probably are aware, because I saw it in your last report, I think it was your June report, your total cash and investments in June of 2020 was somewhere around $48 million. You've now gone to $75 million 2 years later. And you can see it in one column. It's mostly in the LAIF account. So if you look at what you had deposited in LAIF in June of 2020 versus what you have deposited now, it's a significant amount more money. In addition to that, you've got these rescue funds that came in and they're cash. You've received them. At this point, they may be unallocated, but it's still cash available for either income revenue loss or projects, and that didn't take it into account. And then, again, as I reported, I think your fund balance, when Mr. Salarza and Mr. Bobadilla present your audit, I think you're going to see you probably doubled your fund balance from the previous year just based on the last year's, reports. The last area I want to touch on as it relates to their review is OPEB obligations. I think the city has taken some steps to manage its OPEB liability. It has created a cap for employees, but there are other measures you can deal with OPEB that are more labor related, so I'm not going to go into the details of how to deal with that, but those are negotiating issues with your labor groups on how to deal with those things, and they can be better managed. I did share with Mr. Salarza on a brief conversation today, as a city with a pension override, when the state enacted PEPRA, which is the lower pension benefit, over time, your pension override is going to be eligible to cover 100% of that cost, because the pension override is based on a benefit level that was received pre-Prop 13. So once you PEPRA, all of the benefit levels are at or below that level. And so what I think you can probably do, again, if you chose to do it this way, currently there's a small general fund portion that goes towards that liability, whether it be debt service or it be normal cost. As that liability declines and gets further funded by your tax override, you could simply allocate the current general fund amounts into the OPEB and catch up without impacting your budget or service delivery really at all. So I think there's a strategy there where you can certainly deal with some things. You know, overall, I did not have, to Mr. Bobadilla's point, you know, real opportunity to dig deeper into this, but I've looked at these reports for the last 7 or 8 years for different communities. I think this is the same report that started with at one point it was a council member, then a supervisor, and then a state legislator, Mr. Morlock. He started looking at pension liabilities across the state, and that's where they started. A lot of these started from just looking at pension liabilities, and they've now extended a little bit further. I think the city, you know, probably faces some level of headline risk with these reports, meaning that, you know, there could be investors that are spooked by these reports as it relates to your potential to issue debt, just out of fear. I mean, when I worked for San Gabriel, that was a reality. Although the financial documents that are disclosed in your financial statements do speak for themselves, and ultimately that's what is used. I had one recommendation that I provide to Mr. Solarza that I provide to all the clients that are dealing with the state audit. You know, we've seen the good and bad of these. One of the questions we often get that I think Mr. Bobadilla somewhat posed, how is it that we can get an A+ bond rating? Or in some cases, I remember, you know, there was another community in San Gabriel Valley that was being pressured quite a bit. They had a AA rating, and they couldn't understand how can we be on this list but be viewed this way by the rating agencies. And so it's a process where I think rather than focus on the state's mentality or focus on how to do this, I think the best approach that I recommend to cities is prepare your own 10-year financial forecast. Looking ahead, looking backwards is not a measure of where you're going or how you're going to get there to solvency or to the city that you want to ultimately be. And I know you have a 5-year plan. I reviewed it in your budget message today, but I think a 10-year financial forecast that lets you all see and your community see how you're going to remain solvent and deliver service and maintain fund balances at the levels of expectation is, I think, an important step, and I think it's the best defense against the state's report.
Mr. Bush, I just want to bring up one point just for the benefit of the public. When we talk about how we receive revenue, basically how the city gets paid or how we receive our money, unlike a household that has a working family that gets paid every week or 2 weeks or once a month, we get paid different times throughout the year. We may get property tax twice a year. Our sales tax we get every so often, but they're projected, they're not accurate, and then they catch us up. So we never at any given time at any month know exactly what our revenue sources are going to be. We project what we think it's going to be throughout the year, but in any given month, we wouldn't know what we have because money's coming in and going out. And that's where we talk about liquidity is do cities have enough money besides what you're hoping you're going to get that is coming from other sources that we have. And as Mr. Bush mentioned, we have $75+ million in liquidity that we can use, plus cash on hand or reserves that we can use in case we have a bump in the road, like a broken storm drain, like a broken sewer, or a major emergency. We have those funds available, and we have used reserves. We've used reserves this year to fix a storm drain. We used over $1 million to fix that. So we were able to do that. If this report was true, we'd be saying we can't fix that, or we can't pave roads, or we can't hire public safety. But what this report created was fear, and we have employees wondering if they're going to get paid tomorrow. And that's really disappointing that that's what this report created when it's completely untrue.
Yeah, I've seen the worst of these circumstances. You know, San Bernardino, before they filed bankruptcy, their general fund was negative $15 million. So that's real insolvency, right? That's a real challenge. And literally, the employees were worried about getting a paycheck there. Interestingly enough, the creditors thought the city was wealthy because it had $70 million. It was all water money. And the city was operating out of water money. So you can't certainly do that. But I think to your point, Mr. Bobadilla, the state constitution allows you to use interfund monies throughout the year, provided that between July 1st and June 30th, everything gets reconciled back for cash flow purposes. Again, given that the city is somewhat unique, you have some similarities to others. The fact that you've passed a additional sales tax measure, to Mr. Bobadilla's point, you get monthly allocations of sales tax and you get a quarterly true-up. So every quarter you actually get caught up on what's happening. And those are 2 quarters in arrears, by the way. They're not actually month-to-month current. The fact that you have a pension override tax tells you that you get more money that's subject to the twice-a-year big payments that come in through the county. And again, those are just little issues that on cash flow wise, you know, it takes into account. But I view liquidity as your total pot of cash and your ability to manage that cash through the budget process and to ensure that you don't over-obligate your general fund and be able to deliver service. It would be most common amongst all cities for the first at least 4 to 6 months for there to be a deficit relating to expenditures versus general fund revenues, simply because of the timing of the sales tax, because you are truing up sales tax until August from the prior year because it's 2 years back. So you start to collect new sales tax after that, and then your property tax comes in 2 late payments, you know, one late like November and the other one in like February or April. So it takes a while for you to catch up. So the first part of your budget is always deficit spending where you need liquidity to do that, and you've delivered service based on your availability of funding on hand.
So Mayor, that's our report. We're open to any questions from the council.
Mayor, just as a side comment, I know I'm sure the council may have questions or comments. It needs to be a bit contained because it's not an item that's on your agenda, and so being cognizant of the Brown Act, I know it's important for the public to understand the significance of the report, but just want to add that as a cautionary comment.
So keep questions short and sweet. Councilmember Melendez, did you have?
I didn't have any questions, just comments.
Okay.
And City Attorney, feel free to stop me if I
Overstep?
overstep.
Okay.
You know, it's, yesterday was a bit bothersome when we got this report. And I want to clarify that when the audit report came out, this was way before any of us up here, before our time here. And we knew that this was going to be an issue that we're going to be dealing with for at least 5 years, right? I mean, we were on the list, and it's disappointing because we've made strides to improve. We've shown that. We knew that this was going to be a dark cloud ever since we got elected. This was one of the first things that we began to address. We had action items that we wanted to address, that we addressed, that we followed through. It's worrisome that this state agency takes the approach of not providing ample time or any type of pathway for the city to provide any type of response to maybe questions that we can address or concerns that we can address, that they notify us a day before. I don't know how that is cooperating with the city, or I don't know how that is supposed to help us, or how that's supposed to assist us in this process, and to just, again, tell everyone this was done before any of our time, and we got handed this situation. We've been addressing the situation, and it's just worrisome that you have a state agency that's not willing to work with the city on this matter. It is worrisome that they do not mention or Measure H, ARPA funding. That when they mention the pension obligation, that we have a specific tax that the residents pay for, and that's not mentioned in there. That one out of the eight bonds that we have, only one of them is actually coming from the it's a burden on the general fund, and that was done in 2012, 2011?
I think like 16 and 19.
Okay,
Related,
2016, way before anybody's time here. And these are big misses from the state, and this is extremely troublesome. We also have an A+ rating. We've had a balanced budget. We've had 3 years of receiving an award for our budget presentation. It's again, we've made so much progress for something like this to come out, and I'm not going to overstep on any action item that or anything that any action that I would like for us to take, but this is extremely troublesome, and it's a shame that the state agency just put this out there.
Thank you. Councilmember Peralta?
Yes, just want to thank you for the information. Ultimately, the state auditor is a government-run entity that, is responsible in upholding the fiscal responsibility of all these local cities throughout California. And so I think, taking this information should not be taken in lightly. I think at the end of the day, it falls on council to have that fiscal responsibility in being able to enact more prudent policies to avoid getting into these types of situations. Obviously, this is something that most of, or all of us here were not a part of as being, more on the newer side to council. But at the end of the day, it does fall on us as council to ensure that whatever policies we do enact are to the benefit of our community and protecting our tax dollars. And that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Jimenez?
I want to echo some of what Councilmember Melendez stated. When we first came onto this council, we were handed, we inherited a mess. And we also didn't have, again, stability with staff or anyone that could help guide us in the right direction. The boat was literally sinking, and it took for this whole team for our city manager to come in and start tugging in the right direction. Like, the sail was broken, and at some point you had enough people that came together and just picked up this boat from sinking. It is unfortunate, and it is very disturbing to see this come out whether today, yesterday, because as you stated here, the professional, and you speak with your experience, we know what's been happening. We know that, again, just like Mr. Melendez stated, we have had a balanced budget for the past 3 years. People can see the slow changes. Again, something that took decades of neglect isn't going to change overnight. But I think we've done a really great job, not we, but our staff, helping us get back in the right direction, or just helping us steer this boat and keep it from sinking. So I do want to, again, thank the staff that has made sure that that the city didn't continue to just run into the ground. And again, this is unfortunate. I did ask Mr. Bobadilla earlier if, this agency had a responsibility to have a conversation with our staff prior to putting this out, but clearly that's something that never happened, correct? Yes, no, yes.
It did not happen.
Okay. Yes, it's very disappointing, but it's very refreshing, and thank you for all, I hope people are listening and could hear that. Again, it's kind of very unfair. So that's it, that's all I have to say.
I'm glad you're into numbers.
What was that? I'm sorry.
I'm glad you're into numbers. Like our finance director is. I'm not. My mom said I'm only into numbers when you put a $ in front of it. So I'm glad that you're into numbers. Our finance director is into numbers, but this is disappointing. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped over Councilmember Torres. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think just to point a couple things out that I find interesting, and sir, with all due respect to your experience and the work that you've done for various cities. And I think it's unfortunate that Mayor Pro Tem Jimenez is not staying for the conversation, but I think it's interesting to, on the one hand, point to one agency and point out shortcomings and only highlight the benefits or the positives of another agency. The conversation feels, I'll say, pretty empty, just in terms of providing a very specific perspective. The state isn't here to provide the rebuttal. As far as we see on the dashboard, the descriptions, as have been said, is very light. They're not very much in depth, and I seriously doubt that my colleagues understand the full implications with their own analysis before relying on the interpretations of one particular side. I think one of the main responsibilities of this council is to take in all information, to carefully consider it, to come up to our own conclusions, discuss them, and then have our policy decisions. But for this report to come out just yesterday and already start blasting it as unfortunate and everything else, I think is extremely premature. To highlight the name of this report, it's a risk, right? This isn't saying that Montebello is going to fail tomorrow. This is an analysis of very specific factors and coming to a very particular conclusion based on very specific data. Now, taking all of that in mind, that is something that council needs to consider. I think to brush it off is irresponsible. You know, there have been practices that I have been very concerned about, that Councilmember Peralta has been very concerned about, that have been not discussed at all on this council as we've moved forward with policy decisions. So all in all, I do want to say and acknowledge that where we are today is very different than where we were 3 years ago. With the passage of Measure H, thanks to the trust of the residents in the leadership of their policymakers that they elected, we've been able to make very great strides in maintaining the services of our city. The coronavirus funds, I mean, we have an item tonight where there's already concerns popping up that money is being swished around to paint a picture of you know, being able to hit our financial marks. So I would urge my colleagues to consider this information carefully, and just as we would ask for more information from you, sir, to understand your perspective, that we also ask the state and carefully consider their perspective as well. Madam Mayor, that concludes my comments.
Thank you. I apologize
Mayor,
again.
if I may say something, just, I know I'm not going to ask Michael Bush to defend himself, but this is a very reputable individual, and I don't think it's fair to paint him as somebody who doesn't know what he's talking about. But I just want to be clear that I apologize, Mr. Bush. You are a very highly recognized professional in this industry, and you didn't deserve that.
I got thick skin, Mr. Popadilla. It's okay. I do want to make one comment, if the council will allow me to do so, because I've heard some things from the council I think are important. I heard a reference to, you know, a budget award, and I'm sure you probably got your awards on your financial statements. You know, those awards aren't necessarily the design of those documents. It's the transparency within those documents that you're given the award for. So as long as you feel comfortable with the documents that are coming before you for debt financing that have a tremendous amount of detail, I know it's a lot of reading, but it has a lot of financial information about where the city is and where it's going. Your budget documents have a lot of transparency in it. That's why you're probably given the award. Your financial statements aren't just financial statements, they're annual comprehensive financial statements, which means a little bit more transparency.
And Michael, let me ask you something, because we adopted this here in Montebello when we got here. Most cities traditionally have a mid-year and a budget. Is that accurate?
Pretty much.
Some cities don't even have a mid-year. Like Montebello did not have a mid-year. They just presented a budget every year.
That would be pretty rare, but yeah.
Here we do a quarterly update to the council, which is a lot of work, but we do it to be transparent. So the council gets an opportunity to see a snapshot of where we are. And we did that because it was important coming off an audit for us to earn trust with the council so they can see what's going on a quarterly basis, because that gives us an idea of where we are with revenue and how we're spending. So we've made those strides to be transparent and show this council and this community that we want to be able to offer as much information as we can that's accurate, that's going to give an accurate depiction of where we're at in any given time of a quarter. So I just wanted to mention that. Thanks.
I think those are extraordinary efforts, and I think that goes into the evaluation criteria when you're issuing bonds and your rating agency looks at your process. They will look at all those steps, and including management. And again, going back to the discussion about transparency and openness, which I think is something that all council members have kind of attuned to. Again, I think rather than looking backwards, having this group from a policy perspective look at their path forward through a longer term forecast, I think will give you the most light you're gonna see. And when you present your your budget document or quarterly documents, that you can update that document to see your path forward from a longer perspective than budget to budget, I think will provide you the level of transparency guided by policy development of this council that will satisfy, I think, what you want and what your community will look for. That the state or other auditors aren't gonna look at your ability to implement policy specifically, and they're not gonna look at whether or not you meet quarterly or whether or not you have a forecast and worked your way out of it in these evaluation reports. A lot of cities, honestly, they somewhat ignore these. To your point, unfortunately, they look at them and go, nah, that's just the state, I'm not gonna worry about it. But I do think there are some measures in here, as I pointed out. I think the OPEB risk is a real risk. You've taken some action against that risk already by capping it. I think that shows some level of prudence. I think the pension issue, honestly, I think they're off quite a bit on because of the uniqueness of your situation, the fact that PEPRA has been put in place. I don't see a future risk of pension here because of PEPRA and the fact that you have a tax override, yet they do see that. But again, I think given all that you've done, even their own dashboard shows improvements every year that you've been engaged through this process, through the audit. You had some moderate risks last year that are gone. Now you just have these few areas of high risk that I think you can focus on. And again, I think that ability to take what you have in your current budget process of 5 years, your quarterly reporting that you're doing, and just expand that a little bit more to ensure policies are being met in the long term, I think should be satisfactory to this council and to your community to show that you really are looking ahead and you're really paying attention beyond the day-to-day aspects of just budget development.
Thank you, Mr. Bush. Again, apologize, Councilmember Torres, for skipping over you. I would like to address a call that I had earlier with the State Auditor's Office regarding this high-risk rate reported. I was told that the ratings are not reflective of where the city finances are currently standing. Rather, it's a snapshot of the finance health based on prior fiscal year's audited finance statements, in this case, 2020, 2021, not our current status. And let me state these facts. The city's financial issues date back 2010. That's 12 years ago. We inherited this financial instability 12 years ago. 12 years ago, none of us were up here. Well, except for you, Arnold. But 12 years ago, back then, the city had enough cash and investments to cover approximately half of its unpaid bills and obligations. Why didn't our past administrations plan for the future? 12 years ago, we inherited this financial instability. Let's ask ourselves, who was running the city at that time? 12 years ago, who was running the city at that time? Last year, I spoke to the retired state auditor, Elaine Howell, and complained that the report neglected to include facts such as our increased sales tax revenue of $3 million, which her office was unaware that the city had received. Standards & Poor's currently rates Montebello an A+, which is an excellent considering a couple years ago, our rating was a B. So this is like our person having a personal credit score of 800 on Experian. We can't buy that, right? We can't buy an Experian credit report. So I asked my colleagues to reject this erroneous, misleading report and together assist me in clarifying and correcting the facts. Our city manager has reached out to his colleagues in other cities who have expressed the same concerns, like Torrance and San Gabriel, about this information being presented. I think Montebello should seek legal advice because, like Mayor Pro Tem said, stronger in numbers, and I think maybe these small cities should have their voices heard because I mean, yeah, the state is the state, but maybe all these cities should band together and we stick it to the state, because just because they're the state and they're sticking it to us, it's not right. The information being promoted to the public by the state auditor is misleading at best and inaccurate. And it's worse because it's damaging our city's credibility with the business community. Because now, just like a business is gonna come in and then they're gonna see like, oh, well, look at, they're a high-risk city because the state auditor is saying that, and it's inaccurate, and they should retract this and correct it. So, well, I thank you for bringing it, your report. How long have you been in business, Mr. Bush?
I've been involved in public finance for about 25 years.
I'm sorry, how long?
25 years.
And this is a pretty a detailed report on Montebello. How long did it take you to do this?
3 hours.
And you had
That's
how
all I
long?
had was about 3 hours.
You had 3 hours, and you had since yesterday?
No, I got called today. I did it this morning. But I'm familiar with this, with the state's process, having worked with other agencies, so it did give me some insight. And again, I only focused, to Councilmember Torres' concern, I really only focused on the high-risk areas. I didn't look at the low-risk areas.
Wow.
And to kind of focus on just the things. And then, you know, what you might see from what I've said, and what maybe the memo that I provided your staff is, you know, it's pretty honest. I did point out that I do think there is a challenge with your OPEB. I mean, there is. I think that's something that you guys should really kind of pay attention to. But I think, you know, the state, they've been criticized by others by looking backwards. And it takes years to improve a community's financial position. 6 years ago, the city of Beaumont was insolvent. Today, they're probably moderate risk level on that report. They're probably somewhere 30 or 40 on the list, but they probably would have been 2 about 5 years ago. It does take some time to fix some things.
And I thank you, because in your conclusion, you state that you should have a 10-year plan.
Yep.
So
I
thank
firmly
you for
believe
that.
that. I really do.
So, well, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
So, on to our first item of regular business.
Yes, Madam Mayor, the first item of regular business is item number 10. And this is the consideration and review of the proposed city's permanent local housing allocation program formula funding plan. And it's here for council's review, consideration, and approval.
Mr. City Manager?
Yes, Mayor, this item tonight before you is a receive and file. We will be bringing an item back to you at a subsequent meeting to get this plan approved by the council. So I'd like to have our Fire Chief, Fran Pelias, present the item and then answer any questions the council may have.
Chief Pelias?
Good evening, Mayor, mayors, members of City Council. So before you is our item to present to you and to answer any questions you may have at this time. But I am going to defer it to Angelica Palmeros, our Deputy Director. She's been working on this item, been very involved, and she can really speak to the item. I also will be happy to answer any questions. I've worked alongside with her on this project.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. If you have any questions, if you have any questions, we basically brought you this, we're planning to submit it on October 29th. It goes off, it cuts off. For submission to the state so that we can receive the funds, the allocation, and not lose partial money from 2019. So for your review, if you have any input, just let us know so that we can get that information in early in edit for the 26th for your final approval.
And Mayor, this is funding, and Council, this is funding that has been available to us since 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, because we did not have an approved housing element, these funds were not able to be drawn. And now since we were, I believe, the second city in LA County to have our housing element approved, along with Long Beach, We have access to these funds, so we can draw down 19, 20, and 21, and we're working on 22 and 24. So it's a 5-year allocation, correct?
For 1.9 million. Mhm.
Okay, well, this is just the receive and file. Can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Madam Mayor, I have an alternative motion.
Okay, go ahead.
In addition to the action with the receive and file, I also noticed that there's information that's in the agenda that I think would be really useful for the community to know as they review the plans. I think it's pages 46 to 48 start to talk about some of, and let me see specifically here.
I don't know.
The actual funding allocations for each of these services. So part of understanding the 1.9 million that we're getting is also understanding the ways that council is prioritizing these funds. And so as an amendment to the receive and file, I wanted to ask if pages 46, 47, and 48 could also be included so the public could easily review those.
Mayor, we don't understand what the motion is.
On the advertisements posted by the city on social media and on the fire website, when you click on the link, there's only 2 pages that the public can see, that the extra 3 pages be added for that review.
When we bring this item back, we will have a staff report with all the information available for the public to view on any such attachments necessary, so that will be available to the public.
Madam Mayor, my alternative motion stands that staff be directed to upload that information on the website so that the public can easily view it.
I'll second.
I don't think it's a substitute. It's just going back to Mayor Pro Tem, right? To just add the changes. I'm fine with the second. It's fine.
Oh, do you want to take? Okay.
Okay, well, okay. What? Okay, we had an initial motion from Councilmember Melendez, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. Then there was a substitute motion from Councilmember Torres, which has been seconded by Councilmember Peralta, and that is to include on the city's website.
Attachments.
Yeah, I'm trying to locate.
Do we need a substitute just to add the attachments?
Well, when the
Madam Mayor,
download,
if I may interject, we will put them on the website
they're
tomorrow.
Yeah.
We will put them on the website tomorrow.
I mean,
They're gonna be-
they're part of the website reports currently.
We'll do more than.
Okay.
So do we need a substitute or?
Well, the substitute motion stands on the floor, so, you know, unless you're going to ask your colleagues to withdraw their motion, which is very unlikely,
I'll withdraw the motion.
Okay.
Mr.
And we
City
also need a
Attorney,
second to
understanding
withdraw
that
her
the
second.
documents will be uploaded.
So the originals withdrawn. Councilmember Peralta, do you want to withdraw your substitute?
That is fine.
Okay, so we're back to the original.
And that's to receive and file.
Okay, receive and file. Deputy City Clerk, would you please call roll, because,
Yes.
Sure.
yes.
Councilmember Melendez?
Aye.
Councilmember Peralta?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Jimenez?
Aye.
Councilmember Torres?
Aye.
Mayor Cobos-Cawthorn?
Aye, and it carries unanimously. On to consent calendar.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, for consent, all matters listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine. Any items a council member wishes to discuss?
Mr. City Attorney?
Yes.
I have a question. I thought the motion was just to discuss the item, because I did have questions and comments on it.
File. It's being brought back on the 26th.
Right, but
There
we
will be a public hearing.
It's got a public hearing coming back on the 26th.
Right, but there was a moment for comments, and I thought the moment for comments would come after the motion to approve the item.
Okay. Let me, you know, and I'm not running the meeting, the mayor's running the meeting, so if you are, want to receive any further comments, the matter has
Okay.
currently been approved, it's up to the mayor.
let's go back. What would your comments like to be?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I appreciate that, and I apologize to the council for the misunderstanding here. First, I would like to thank staff for laying out the groundwork for this discussion. What this council is doing to address homelessness and the rising cost of housing is one of the most pressing conversations today. By submitting our housing element, getting off the governor's naughty list and into compliance, and receiving these new funds, we can chip away at one of the biggest problems of our day. Montebello is receiving $1.9 million over 5 years. When you think about the cost of a house these days, $2 million doesn't go very far when it comes to housing. However, any amount to get someone off the street or family into housing needs to be carefully considered. There are a couple of weeks left in the public comment period. The plan has been posted, and thanks to city staff, a little extra information will be provided. Let's see, and I get to skip those comments because we've already addressed that. So a couple questions for staff.
Did you finish?
No, I have questions.
Oh.
The questions?
Thank you very much, appreciate you. So first, just in the way that everything's broken down, and just to start understanding here, because this is the first time that we're considering this item, I just wanted to understand how the priorities were determined.
So we were determining on what the NOFA, the Notice of Funding, allows to, fund. So we're looking at immediate, these dollars need to be spent right away. So they need to be implemented, especially because we're already the 2019, so we have to get those on the street for any services. So we picked number 6 to support MCAP with the goal also to, if there's these dollars outside that we can bring into the city to provide these services and not rely directly on general fund and, allow that support, it's something that I feel is important for us to pursue those dollars to ensure that we're not just relying, on general fund. And so we picked for MCAP to support the staff and personnel so they can continue doing the work. As we initially implemented it through a grant, so we want to continue doing that. And then year 4 and 5, we're looking hopefully at potential of housing to house specifically homeless individuals or seniors that are homeless. So they're really targeting the homeless population.
And I think, if I may, these categories are very restrictive.
Yes.
And they're very, very difficult to comply with if we don't have a program already in place. And we felt that MCAP is already functioning, and that was a great place to be able to draw these funds down and be able to use without having to create a new program that we probably wouldn't able to do and draw those funds down. So
That
I
is
think the
accurate.
first 3 years are MCAP. The other 2 years, we're allocating funds to an affordable housing project to try to create affordable housing in the city of Montebello.
Because there's, obviously, as you know, there's a lack of housing, and trying to put a homeless person quickly into housing has been a challenge. So,
Thank you very much. And actually that, I think, starts to answer my next question, although my next question has a little bit of a clarification. For 2019, 20, and 21, being that those are being allocated for MCAP, I was just wondering if those are payments in arrears for services that we've already rendered, or if that's moving forward funding the program.
So yeah, any money that we already asked the state, and they said we can't bill for past services, we have to bill once the agreement goes moving forward.
Yeah, that was a great question, and we did ask that if we could do that, and they right away said no.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Right.
For my next question, I was just curious for the money that's being allocated for capital reserves for payment of supportive housing. I was just curious if any of that is being anticipated as going to Operation Stay Safe.
We could, if depending on the need, we don't have to. Obviously, we want to see if there's plans for the city to develop, obviously, our director, Joe Palombi, is looking into that through the housing element, so we want to, incorporate those dollars to any needed project.
Understood. Thank you very much.
And Councilmember, for clarification, the category we chose for Cesar Chavez was capitalized reserves for services connected to the preservation and creation of new permanent supportive housing. And Cesar Chavez met that supportive housing category, and we felt that we wanted to allocate funding there, and by then we would have funding for MCAP through other sources.
Okay, so years 4 and 5 are for the Cesar Chavez Foundation project?
That is what we are proposing, unless the council would like the monies to go in a different direction.
I appreciate that. And that concludes my question. I do have a final comment to kind of wrap everything up. As you've mentioned, there are 10 eligible categories under this grant and categories that are very restrictive. I appreciate the city manager clarifying that for programs that are not already in existence, that it's difficult to create something that would comply and where we would be able to draw down these funds. However, for council's consideration and for the consideration of staff, I would like to talk about the experiences of residents and the needs that we're seeing out in the community. In a lot of the conversations that are going on right now with the homes being built in Metro Heights, among the community, the homelessness that we're seeing, there's a few specific needs that I think my colleagues would be able to identify with. One of them is that residents want help with buying their first home. That is an eligible category in this area. Again, with the price of housing and with the limited funds that we have, I don't know how many lives we would be able to affect, but being that there's this opportunity here, I did want council to consider that. Second, seniors living on the edge of homelessness as rents increase against their fixed incomes. Senior housing is something that is not often talked about. They don't have access to technology. They often don't have access to transportation. They're at home, trying to do the best that they can, not aware that these conversations are going on. I do think that it's up to council to kind of protect our seniors to the extent that that's possible. And being that this allows for up to 6 months of rent, I'm wondering what opportunities there are to support the seniors in the community. And then lastly, homelessness as a general concern, and thank you for clarifying that the funds are going to be used for, are contemplated use for the Cesar Chavez Foundation project. Ultimately, just asking myself the question as we're looking at this opportunity, what is council doing to support home ownership as we build million-dollar homes in the hills, and what are we doing to address the actual cause of homelessness? And with that concluding my comments, I thank staff for entertaining my questions and providing clarification, and thank you to council for allowing me a few minutes to provide this clarification here.
And Mayor, members of the council, just one point. This is ongoing funding, so we're identifying 5 years. That's not to say the council can, redirect funding in different ways. We can amend if we had to, but we will have another 5-year cycle, and I think this would merit, good study sessions to discuss this particular topic and how the council would like to fund those types of initiatives and how we could do that over time.
Did any other colleagues have any questions? These are your MCAP clients, correct?
Yeah, and many others that are coming or living here.
So MCAP clients are homeless riverbed, that were homeless in the riverbed, not purchasing Metro Heights properties.
Well, yeah, all over the city, any clients that we have,
So they're homeless, not buying million-dollar homes?
potentially they could go. They create encampments. One of the things that we have been following our data is the decrease in fires that we've been able to
I
do.
just wanted to make
with
sure
the
that
team.
they're MCAP homeless, not buying Metro Heights homes. Okay. So if I can, I have a motion, and if I can get the vote, please. I see that the city clerk is back, so City Clerk Jimenez, please. Well, I have the vote, but should we just take another one just in case?
I apologize, we did take a vote.
So am I okay to go back? I don't need to take another vote? Okay. Consent calendar then. Thank you.
All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine, and the items the council member wishes to discuss should be discussed at this time. All other items will be approved as soon as The ordinance. I will poll the council, starting with Councilmember Melendez.
No items.
Councilmember Peralta,
13 and 15.
13 and which one? 15. Mayor Pro Tem Jimenez. No items. Councilmember Torres,
13 and 15.
and Mayor Cobos Cawthorn.
No items.
We need a motion then to approve items 11, 12, 14, 16, well, 16's been removed, I'm sorry. 16's been removed. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24.
Can I have a motion, please?
I'll motion to approve.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. City Clerk? Roll vote, please.
Councilor Melendez,
Aye.
Councilor Peralta,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Jimenez,
Aye.
Councilmember Torres, Mayor Cobos Cawthorn.
Aye, that carries unanimously. On to item 13, please.
Yes, item 13 is consideration of awarding a contract, Montebello Municipal Golf Course renovation, project phase 1. It's been requested by council members Peralta and Torres in that order.
Cesar
Councilmember Peralta?
Peralta has the floor.
Yes, thank you. Yes, so I just do want to express my concern that council was never previously notified that there would be a shortfall in the funding for this project. I was under the assumption that the bond that we recently approved would be covering the totality of the development. And as council, I don't think that it's appropriate that we allocate COVID relief funds to fill that gap. I understand that the flexibilities of the COVID relief funds, have changed, and that funds are being allowed to be used for these types of items. But I think at the end of the day, as council, we do have that due diligence of ensuring that these funds go towards the immediate relief, whether it's, as we've done so, right, with sewage and infrastructure, IT, or even, again, as I've asked multiple times in past meetings, that council be able to have the opportunity, whether it was through a study session or in general, have a conversation about how we can begin allocating those funds towards any type of programs that benefit our residents directly. So what I would like to ask of my colleagues is their support in having this item come back and direct staff to find a way to fill that gap or find alternatives to the project that will decrease the gap that needs to be filled. And for now, that concludes my comments. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Torres?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Plans for allocating American Rescue Plan Act funds were presented in September 2021. That presentation utilized all $16.6 million that the city of Montebello was to receive. $5.6 million was allocated for IT infrastructure and software, $6.9 million for fleet replacement and upgrades, and $4.2 million for sewer maintenance and capital repairs. Those funds were designed and allocated to address the effects of the funds were designed and allocated to address the effects of coronavirus in the most significant ways. Tonight, we're being asked to approve the use of $5 million in COVID relief aid for this construction. And I do have to repeat that I'm excited for the new golf campus. I do believe that we should move it along quickly, but this is a step that I cannot in good conscience approve and to repeat that $5 million in COVID aid for this construction. In an informal poll that I did on Facebook with 160 responses and totally acknowledging that social media isn't completely informative, but I do think that it still provides a valuable placeholder, is that some of the most pressing needs that were addressed when I posed to the community the different uses for the COVID relief aid, addressing educational disparities, supporting small businesses, and investments in housing and neighborhoods. With that, I would like to support Councilmember Peralta's suggestion that this item be tabled and that the city find another way to fill this funding gap. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Councilmember Melendez, did you have any comments, questions?
No comments.
Mayor Pro Tem Jimenez, any comments, questions? On September 1st, 2021, on the allocation of the ARPA funds, this council voted unanimously 5-1 for ARPA funds to be allocated. So with that, can I have a motion to carry the item?
I'll make the motion.
Just a quick clarification. If Councilmember Peralta motioned for her suggestion.
I had not motioned, but I'd like to do a substitute motion.
And I'll second that.
Okay. So
We're still waiting on
we
that.
had a motion.
We're still waiting on the second.
We had a motion from, the first person that stepped up to make a motion was Councilmember Melendez. Then there was a request for clarification from Councilmember Torres. We had not yet received a second. We also then had a motion from Councilmember Peralta, which did receive a second.
So I'll rescind my motion and I'll make a substitute motion to approve the item.
Okay, so now we have a substitute motion to the motion made by Councilmember Peralta, seconded by Councilmember Torres. Do we have a second to that substitute motion?
I second.
There's a second by by Mayor Pro Tem Melendez. That now is the motion on the floor, which is to approve this item. May we have a roll call?
Mr. City Clerk.
Mr. City Attorney?
Yes.
Is the item to approve, is the motion to approve the item as is or with what Councilmember Peralta mentioned earlier?
No, it's the motion from, unless Councilmember Melendez corrects me, his motion is to approve the item as is, correct? He's nodding his head yes.
Can you
Record should
please,
reflect.
can you please in the microphone?
Yes.
This is a motion to approve the item as presented.
Mr. City Clerk.
Councilor Melendez,
Aye.
Councilor Peralta,
Nay.
Mayor Pro Tem Jimenez,
Aye.
Councilor Torres,
Nay.
Mayor Cobos-Cawthorn.
Aye, and that carries 3-2. On to item 15.
Item 15 is consideration of amending the fiscal year 2022-2023 capital improvement program budget by increasing appropriations in various accounts. It's requested by Councilmember Peralta and Councilmember Torres.
I believe Councilmember Peralta had the floor first, or requested it first.
Yes, I just would like to have a little bit more information, as I do find the item to be somewhat confusing, and then just, understanding the, I believe it's the increase in appropriations for 26 million and kind of how that works with the carryover of past funds.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Peralta. We'd like to have Michael Solarza explain that. And this is something we've been trying to do that wasn't done before, and that's to take care of the carryover of whatever dollars are appropriated that aren't used. So if we have a big project that's multi-year and we don't use the dollars, that we carry them over. So Michael, if you can kind of explain that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor, Council. So the item before you is something that in my 15-plus years in municipal government is pretty standard this time of year. When you close your books as of 6:30, you reconcile what you spent towards your CIP projects, you look at the original adopted budget, and anything that's left over, if it's needed, you rebudget it in the subsequent year. So in this case, this is not something that we've been doing regularly here in Montebello. And in talking with Director Enriquez, it actually caused him quite a bit of consternation because it was really hard for him to determine what's my adopted budget, what's my actual available budget, and at the end of the day, how much fund balance do I have left in gas tax or Measure M or Measure R that maybe isn't programmed that I can put towards another project or pave some more streets or expand an existing project. So what we're trying to accomplish here is take previously approved budgets, or excuse me, previously approved projects from prior budgets, whether it was just last year, some of these date back 2 or 3 years, and rebudget the money that was needed in prior years in the current year. It's trying to provide as accurate as possible a budget to Director Enriquez and his staff so they know how much they have to work with on ongoing projects. And again, some of these are multiple year projects, so obviously we have to keep rebudgeting, or some of them, just depending on timing and the bidding and letting of contracts, maybe they weren't gotten to, but we're going to get to them this year. You know, there's some slurry seals, some concrete work, all very important projects. So basically, this is something that we'll be doing on an annual basis at about this time of year, once we've closed the books or have a better idea on our year end, look at remaining budget amounts and then put those budget amounts in the current year. So I hope that helps. If not, obviously I can explain a little more detail, but that's kind of the process that's in front of you.
And question, all these projects identified in that spreadsheet, are they currently approved projects?
They were previously approved in prior budgets. So what you have here is, if you look at the fiscal year 22-23 budget, what was presented in June were new projects, or in this case, there were a few existing projects in that budget that needed new money. What is in front of you today are previously approved budgets, whether it was from last year or previous fiscal year, that are ongoing or haven't yet been started, but obviously the money is needed this year. So to get a full picture of our CIP, you'd put together this schedule with what's in the adopted budget. That's our entire CIP program.
I appreciate that information. I think for me, just one of the concerns I do have, and would like to just receive more information, is it was mentioned also in our past item with our CIP, in that some of these items just have little to no context as far as more information of these projects. So we have intersection projects, we have pavement projects, but we don't necessarily have identification of what these streets are or what these intersections are. And I think it's important not only for council, but for our residents to really understand where that work is being done throughout our city. And so, that's information that I would like to request, and that I think it'd be important for council to receive. And that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Torres?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And Director Solarza, to some of the comments that you made, I think personally that's some of the information that I would like to see in this agenda item, understanding what the previous budget was, understanding what the actual spend was, understanding what the carryover is, and having all that information presented in the agenda is, I think, not only important for council to understand exactly what's going on here, but also just so that the public can keep up with all these conversations. Because you guys do a great job here behind the scenes, but a big part of what we do is bringing the community along with us so that they can understand as well. As Councilmember Peralta noted, there are confusing elements. Some of the totals in the budget need to amend don't match the amounts that are seen in the current fiscal year budget and the CIP budget. And as I mentioned, there are several questions that just aren't in this agenda item. And then also having that additional detail as to perhaps when these projects were removed and approved, and brings up the one question I do have for you. So you mentioned that some of the projects that are on this list were brought forward from past years. Are these all projects that were not completed in past years, or was this is this a selected list from past projects?
I'll defer to Director Enriquez. He can speak more operationally on probably status of the projects.
So any project that's in this list is an ongoing project. Therefore, the need to record or bring forward the carryover money that's available from previously approved budgets to make them whole. And those projects will continue to be on there until they're delivered. There's various reasons why some of them are on here multiple years.
Okay, and just to clarify, I apologize if I missed it, but this list includes all of the projects from the last 2 or 3 years that have been approved, or is this a selected list? Are there any projects that wouldn't be on this list?
So this list should include any active project.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And also, excuse me, if I may add, in terms of detail of project, there's various actions that happen for a project during the delivery of the project at the different phases. And my intent, as you saw in
the staff report for the golf course today is to deliver that kind of detail at those steps, including more detail about what the expenditures are and what the budget or revenue sources are that are funding the project. And that would come from these annual summary budget, capital improvement budget actions. So I use this information to feed project-specific actions at the various stages of a project.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And again, this isn't a comment necessarily on the work that's been done, but just in terms of council being able to understand the full picture and have all the information kind of at that moment that we're making the decision, and also bringing the community along. Thank you very much for answering our questions here.
Okay.
Mayor?
Yes.
Femi?
Councilmember Melendez?
Yeah, I just want to ask city manager and staff if the concerns were raised by my two colleagues, if it's something that, is that information, is there an urgent matter to approve this item, or can that information be brought up and be proposed in the next agenda item?
Well,
Next council meeting.
it'd be important to take the carryover, but I just want to preface that these are projects you've all already approved. You've already approved these projects. We're working on them. We definitely could add more information about the projects, but I want to be clear. These are projects you already approved. These aren't new projects that we're bringing you or anything that's outside of what you haven't approved. These are already council-approved projects. But what we're doing is just asking us to allocate dollars because some of them are not complete yet or haven't started yet. So we have to keep moving funding. So that helps us not to triple spend money. Sometimes if we don't know what our balances are, we spend the money, and then we spend it maybe 3 times going forward if we don't take these types of actions. So that's what before you. There's nothing new or anything that you haven't already approved as a body.
Understood.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve item 15?
I'll make the motion.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. City Clerk? If you can have a roll vote, please.
Councilmember Melendez,
Aye.
Councilmember Peralta,
Abstain.
Mayor Pro Tem Jimenez. Aye. Councilmember Torres,
Nay.
Mayor Cobos-Cawthorn.
Aye, that carries 3-1-1. Congratulations on the capital improvement, Montebello. No council orals. On to the adjournment. I'd like to thank all of you who watched, attended, stayed with us, even though the Dodgers are in the playoffs. Special thank you to Michael Popoff, KTLA Channel 5, for reporting Montebello's own Carlos Salcedo at Mother's Made Donuts in Whittier. He bought the last 7 for us to feature today at the council meeting. I believe Kimberly has them for us, so thank you again to Michael Popoff for getting them. I won't reveal the score. I'm sure some of you have been watching on your phones. So again, thank you again to Michael Popoff. So can I have a motion to adjourn? Can I have a second?
I'll second
it. Thank you. We will see you at our regularly scheduled meeting, October 26th, or at Heritage Fest. Thank you.